It's April 27th, 2007, 10 p.m. Hiller Arrelade is trying to buy groceries. He's standing at the checkout counter, his card in hand. The cashier swipes it. Nothing. She tries again. Nothing. The payment terminal is dead. Cash only, she says. Hiller checks his phone to see what's going on. The screen loads, then freezes. He tries his bank's website. Error. He tries the news. Error. Estonia's biggest news portal, Postimees, is completely offline. Across Tallinn, ATMs have stopped dispensing cash. Online banking is down. Government websites are unreachable. The Estonian parliament's email system has crashed. Emergency services are struggling to communicate. And this isn't a technical glitch or a power outage. This is an attack. Estonia is under siege, not by tanks or troops, but by something insidious. Hackers are flooding every critical system. So much traffic that nothing can function. Banks, government, media, everything. The attack will last 3 weeks. It will be coordinated, relentless, and unlike anything. This isn't some teenager in a basement. This is organized. This is political. And this is just the beginning of a new kind of warfare. The Estonian government will call it cyber terrorism. NATO will call it an act of war. Russia will call it patriotic hackers, exercising free speech. But here's the thing. No one will ever be arrested. No single person will be identified. The attackers will vanish into the internet like ghosts. This is the story of how a country the size of New Hampshire became the testing ground for World War 3.0, how a statue started a war, and how Estonia went from being crippled to becoming the world's most advanced cyber defense hub. But first, we need to understand what made Estonia such a perfect target. And it starts with a decision. That pissed off an entire nation. March 2007, 1 month before the attacks, the Estonian government makes a decision that will change everything. They're going to move the Bronze Soldier. The Bronze Soldier is a Soviet war memorial in the center of Tallinn for ethnic Russians living in Estonia. It's sacred. It represents their sacrifice. In World War II, for many Estonians, it represents 50 years of Soviet occupation. The government decides to relocate it from downtown to a military cemetery. Riots break out immediately. Ethnic Russians flood the streets. 1 person dies in the chaos. Shops are looted. Cars are set on fire. Russian state media goes ballistic, calling it desecration. Putin's spokesperson condemns Estonia publicly. But here's what makes Estonia special and why this attack will be so devastating. Estonia is the most digitally advanced country on Earth. In 2007, while most countries are still figuring out basic online services, Estonia has already gone all in on digital infrastructure. 95% of bank transactions happen online. You can vote from your laptop. Government services are accessed through a digital ID card. Even paying for parking is done through your phone. They call it e-Estonia. It's efficient. It's modern. It's the future. It's also incredibly vulnerable. The Estonian government has built an entire society on the assumption that the internet will always work. They've put all their eggs in one digital basket. And now someone's about to smash that basket to pieces. On April 26th, the Bronze Soldier is moved. Within hours, the first wave hits. If you're enjoying this deep dive into cyber warfare, hit that subscribe button. We cover the wildest tech stories, hacking incidents, and digital mysteries every week. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Small-scale attacks start hitting Estonian websites. News portals slow down. Government sites get sluggish. Nothing catastrophic yet, just annoying. Then April 27th arrives, and everything escalates. The attacks come in waves, massive coordinated waves. Wave 1 targets Estonia's biggest news sites. Postimees, Delphi, all the major portals go dark. Estonians can't access news about what's happening in their own country. The digital blackout begins. Wave 2 hits the banks. Hansa Bank, SEB, Swedbank. Online banking systems crash under the load. Millions of requests per second flood their servers. It's a distributed denial of service attack, or DDoS. Imagine trying to enter a building while 10,000. This is organized across multiple countries, multiple targets, perfectly timed. Analysts at Estonia's CERT, their cyber emergency response team, are watching their screens in disbelief. The traffic is coming from everywhere. Russia, obviously, but also Ukraine, Egypt, Peru, the United States. Infected computers from around the world have been turned into weapons. A botnet of massive scale. Hiller Arrelade, our guy from the grocery store. He's a system administrator at one of Estonia's ISPs. He's been awake for 36 hours straight. trying to filter the malicious traffic. But for every IP address they block, 50 more appear. The attackers are using something called a reflection attack. They're sending requests to innocent servers around the world, but spoofing the return address to point at Estonian targets. So Estonia isn't just fighting the hackers. They're fighting the entire internet's automatic responses. Defense Minister Jacques Aviksu holds a press conference. He's trying to remain calm, but you can see the strain. This is testing the fabric of our society, he says. We are under attack, and we will defend ourselves. But how do you defend against an enemy you can't see? An enemy hiding behind millions of infected computers in dozens of countries? The Estonian government reaches out to allies. The EU sends cyber experts. NATO dispatches advisors. But nobody has dealt with anything like this before. There's no playbook for defending an entire country from a cyber siege. Week 1 ends. The attacks don't stop, they adapt. Every defense Estonia puts up, the attackers find a way around it. It's like playing whack-a-mole with an infinite number of moles. And then things get personal. May 9th, Victory Day in Russia, the day they celebrate defeating Nazi Germany. The attacks reach their absolute peak. Every government website goes down simultaneously. The parliament can't communicate internally. Ministers, emails inaccessible. The president's website displays Russian messages mocking Estonia. It's not just an attack anymore. It's a statement. Foreign Minister Urmas Paet is supposed to be conducting diplomacy. He can't access his secure communications. The finance ministry can't process transactions. Police systems are overloaded. Emergency services routing calls through backup landlines. Backup landlines from the 1990s. Hiller and his team make a desperate decision. Disconnect Estonia from internet. Not completely, but they're going to cut off traffic from Russian IP addresses entirely. It's like putting a wall around the country. In cyberspace, it works. Kind of. The attacks reduce. But now Estonian businesses can't communicate with Russian partners. Websites can't serve Russian users. The economic cost starts piling up. Millions of euros per day in lost commerce. And make sure you're subscribed, because we're about to get into how Estonia fights back and what happens to the attackers. Hit that button. The Estonian government starts collecting evidence. Every packet of data, every IP address, every timestamp. They're building a case. They know this is coming from Russia, or at least Russian-speaking hackers, but proving it is different from knowing it. The attacks use a forum called ZAC4. It's a Russian hacking forum where someone is openly coordinating the assaults. They're posting target lists, sharing tools, celebrating successful takedowns. One user, Tundrak, seems to be a key coordinator. But usernames mean nothing when you're hiding behind proxies and VPNs. NATO sends a team. They've never classified a cyber attack as Article 5 territory before. Article 5 is the collective defense clause. An attack on one member is an attack on all. But does a DDoS attack count as armed aggression? Nobody knows. There's no precedent. 3 weeks in, the attacks finally start to diminish. Not because Estonia won, but because the attackers get bored or run out of steam. The botnets get disrupted. Some get taken offline by authorities in other countries. The coordination breaks down. Estonia comes back online, slowly, carefully. But the damage is done. The investigation begins immediately. Estonian authorities, EU cybercrime units, NATO cyber experts, they're all digging through the evidence. They trace some of the attacks back to IP addresses linked to Russian government buildings. But an IP address isn't proof. Anyone can route traffic through compromised computers. It's circumstantial at best. One person does get arrested. His name is Dmitry Galushkevich. He's an Estonian-Russian student living in Tallinn. They find evidence that he participated in the DDoS attacks. Not organizing them, just participating. He's fined 17,500 kroons, about $1,600. That's it. The only conviction from the first cyber war. Nobody else is ever charged. Not Tundrak from the forums. Not the botnet operators. Not the people who coordinated 3 weeks of attacks. That crippled an entire nation. They're ghosts. The Estonian government presents evidence to Russia. Requesting cooperation, Russia denies everything. They claim it was just patriotic hackers, private citizens expressing their outrage about the bronze soldier. Not state-sponsored, just passionate Russians defending their heritage. NATO can't invoke Article 5 because they can't definitively prove state involvement. Even if they could, what would the response be? You can't send troops to fight DDoS attacks. You can't bomb a botnet. The total cost: 20 million euros in damages, 3 weeks of digital paralysis, and the uncomfortable realization that every country on Earth is vulnerable to the same thing. But Estonia doesn't just lick its wounds and move on. They do something remarkable. In 2008, Estonia helps establish the NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence in Tallinn. It becomes the world's leading institution for cyber warfare research and training. The country that got destroyed becomes the teacher. They completely overhaul their cyber defenses, redundant systems, better filtering, international cooperation agreements. Estonia essentially becomes a fortress. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. We've got more stories about hackers, scammers, and digital mayhem. By 2017, Estonia is so confident in their digital infrastructure that they launched the first digital residency program. Anyone, anywhere, can become an e-resident and run a business through Estonian systems. The country that was brought to its knees becomes the global leader in digital governance. But here's the haunting part. Dmitry Galushkevich, the only person convicted, he paid his fine and walked free. The real organizers were never found. April 27, 2007 wasn't just an attack on Estonia. It was a proof of concept. It showed the world that you can paralyze a modern nation without firing a single bullet. Since then, we've seen it again and again. Russia hits Ukraine with cyber attacks. During the Crimea invasion, NotPetya malware causes $10 billion in global damages in 2017. Hackers linked to nation-states go after power grids, hospitals, election systems. Estonia was the beta test. The rest of us are living in the full release. The bronze soldier sits in its military cemetery today. The statue didn't change, but the world around it did. Estonia proved the most vulnerable point in any modern country isn't its borders or its military. It's the internet. Here's what keeps security experts up at night. Estonia was attacked with relatively primitive tools. Botnets, DDoS attacks, basic stuff. Imagine what a determined nation-state could do today with AI-powered malware, zero-day exploits, sophisticated social engineering. The attackers who brought Estonia to its knees are still out there. Maybe they're retired. Maybe they're reading this right now, laughing. One thing we know for sure, they weren't amateurs. The coordination, the timing, the scale, this was professional, and someone paid for it, whether officially or unofficially. Hiller Erlaid, remember him from the grocery store? He still works in cybersecurity. He gives talks about the 2007 attacks. He tells a story about the moment they realized how serious it was. We thought we were advanced, he says. We thought being digital made us strong. It made us the softest target in the world. Estonia learned that lesson the hard way. The question is, has everyone else? Because right now, your bank, your hospital, your government, they're all running on the same basic internet infrastructure that failed Estonia in 2007. The tools have improved. The defenses have gotten better, but the fundamental vulnerability remains. Someone, somewhere, is mapping out the next attack, the next target, the next proof of concept. And before you go, seriously, subscribe if you want more stories about the dark side of technology. We're just getting started. Drop a comment if you think you know who was really behind the Estonia attacks. And share this with someone who needs to understand that cyber warfare isn't science fiction anymore. It's Tuesday afternoon, and you're trying to buy groceries.